All right. Well, hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the One Up Podcast. My name's Milos Bukarica. With me, we've got George, we've got Jorg, we've got Tress, and then we got Manuel behind the camera. We got most of the crew here today. It's pretty nice. We got our guest back. If you've ever watched our podcast, you might know this dude. We had a really cool episode with him. He was super fucking chill.
Manuel, is your drink on the camera?
No, it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Well, is it my drink? Is it on camera?
Is that yours?
No, my drink. Oh, well. Sorry, not sponsored by Whataburger. That's why we have to get it out. I wish. Also, I wish we were sponsored by Liquid Death. I wish. That's a cool
Can
brand.
be.
Their commercials are hilarious. That's awesome. So yeah, what's everybody up to? It's we haven't been talking since the Christmas episode. What's new?
Since the Christmas episode. Well, we haven't seen Jorg since, what was it, like
2
2
years
years ago?
ago.
Whenever
Fuck.
Fort Worth froze over, you got in town just when it ended.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
That was a hell of a story. 100% go back listen to that. That was amazing.
That was insane. I remember thinking at one point, I was like, yep, I'm not going to make it. But I'm here. I think that's cool.
And what have you been up to since? No, you've been pretty busy.
I've been busy for the most part. I've been shooting a lot of music videos, some commercials nowadays, which was surprising is surprising for me because I'm typically not known to shoot commercials. Some movies here and there, but not necessarily anything where I'm like finding myself in the cinematographer role, but definitely finding myself as like pretty in-depth camera support and gaffer. So it almost becomes like a weird surrogate DP, especially whenever the DP's asking me questions for like things. But I feel like nowadays that's a little bit more common.
Hey man, but it's always good to be a jack of all trades. Once so that means any gig comes up, you can go work as a DP, you can go work as a gaffer, whatever you need to do. That's super
100%.
cool.
Yeah. I usually feel like in this kind of industry, you kind of have to be a jack of all trades because,
Yeah.
the plethora of jobs for just one role is not necessarily a plethora. So you consistently have to kind of jump up and be like, hey, you need a back massager for your shoot? This guy right here. I can give phenomenal back massages. Not me, but I'm saying, Milosh.
Man, I was about to say, like, if it's you, we might need that role for the podcast, buddy. Like we might be hiring for a back massager.
Not me. That's not me. But yeah, no. I mean, in this kind of climate, especially with like
It'll be just an unpaid internship.
of course, that's a given. There's a dime a dozen for us back massagers. But now I was gonna get to the notion that with like filmmaking, there's this like gap where like the threshold to get into filmmaking now is like become so small. Since I feel like even these last 2 years alone, it's like become even smaller. Like almost everybody and their cousin nowadays is like a hardcore YouTube filmmaker, and everybody knows how to color grade, everybody knows how to use a gimbal, and everybody owns a gimbal, and everybody owns a camera, and it's like, damn.
Yeah, it's like you come up with your fucking like multi-$1,000 Steadicam rig. It's like, oh, my cousin's got the handheld GoPro. Well, he can do it for free. We're not paying you.
No, and that's actually legitimately happened to me.
Yeah.
Like I lost out a gig to a dude with a Sony FX3 and I think a Zhiyun crane.
Yeah.
Where I had my Red Weapon Dragon and my Steadicam Volt, and it's like I'm willing to compete against that budget, for whatever reason. They were like, "Nah, this guy here he knows what he's doing." I'm like, "All right," but yeah, no, I mean that's why you kind of have to become a jack of all trades, and
Yeah, speaking of the whole Steadicam thing, I remember a couple months ago, I don't even know if maybe a year ago now, I saw you went some kind of course training stuff for that specifically, man.
I didn't realize that was something that happened between the last time we talked to now. So yeah, I went to the Canary Islands to get a gold certification at the international stage. And, we worked with Steadicam Volts and, the M2s, the M1s, the shadows, the everything under the sun for Steadicam. And it was like one of the best things that I personally can attest to my life that I've done. I mean, we got to ride on the back of cars and like hard mount the
Nice.
Steadicam onto the cars and follow somebody else on like another vehicle. We've also done stuff where we were on like the rickshaw, hard mounted, and also without a hard mount, learn how to walk on and off that. Learn how to make like your own dollies out of like whatever you could find. So we had like a literal like those dollies that used for like trucks and stuff to like carry the refrigerators.
Yeah,
and we would ride on that as like our own makeshift rickshaws. And then we did really awesome stuff where we had to get on and off cranes while still operating the Steadicam, and I feel like that was like the highlight of like being in that whole course.
So it was something that they showed you like the industry stuff, but also just be creative with the stuff around you.
Right. So they showed me everything from like, here's what top movie stuff will kind of expect you to know. But also if you work on something small and you need to be on the whim, pull something off that's cool, that works. They also showed us that. Even like going like, oh, you want to get some low mode shots? We'll show you how you can get a grip to put like an apple box for you while you're sitting down. And then you could, move up or whatever.
That's fun.
That's awesome.
One of the shoots we were on, like me and Tress, the DP was always asking for apple boxes. He's like, I need an apple box. And we were like so far apart from each other because I was doing like the autofocus and like Tress was second AC and he was basically doing slate. And then like every now and then you just hear him, George. He's like, I need a lens.
That's funny. Was that one shoot in Capernaum Studios?
Yeah, Capernaum Studios.
I love that place, but I'm pretty sure you guys went through absolute hell trying to go through that because I think at that time it was like 105, 110.
Yeah, it was like the hottest it was.
Hey, I got a bit
summer.
extra in that. I'm happy. I'm fine.
And then we had rain for like, it rained in the middle of the shoot for like 30 minutes. So we had to like wait out the rain for 30 minutes and they got really cool.
That's good.
So like the temperature dropped like 30 degrees.
That's awesome.
And then once it finally like the sun came back out, it was like over 100 and we were just like in complete humidity the whole day.
Jesus Christ.
So it just got worse. And then I was like locked in the little room because I had like the station set up and everything.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was hot.
And then I would put the whole Hollylands, I'll put them through the window so they can actually send the signal out. And I was in there and I was just like drenched in sweat. Like I could take my shirt and just squeeze all the water out.
Jesus, that's insane. What's funny is Ryan, who had gotten my equipment out to that shoot, I was working on another movie literally the week before you guys were in Capernaum. And that's a fun little movie that we did. At first, whenever we were shooting it, I was like, man, this is a questionable movie and everything they're doing is very questionable. And I mean, maybe if you were to watch it, you'd be like, wow, that is questionable. But for the most part, it's one of the most cohesive movies that I was involved in. Because I feel like in general, most movies that I usually become involved in at whatever capacity, we'll shoot it and it's like, wow, that does not look good. But
Hey, he says that, but just so you know, never this man's fault. It's just stuff happens. Don't say that. Like I said, that like you make it sound like you're the problem. You're definitely not the problem.
100%. Yeah, no,
definitely
I mean,
not the
like,
problem. Trust me, I've worked with this dude. Like he's 100% not the problem. He's usually the solution to every fucking problem you have. You need something. You're like, oh shit, I need a piece of gear. Who has it? Fucking Jorg. You need something. Shit, I need this. Who's got it? Jorg.
No, I appreciate
always reach out
that.
to this dude.
Yeah, I mean, like, it usually comes down to logistical issues where I'm like, this could have been solved in pre-production. This could have been solved by having a shot list. Or,
oh my god, yes.
I mean, ideally storyboards, but preferably if you can, whatever. I mean, at the minimum, have a shot list because, like, I feel like most movies that I've worked on personally, it seems like they hire DPs going like, all right, this DP is pretty good. And then we're like, all right, what's the next shot? And they're like, I'm trying to figure it out as we're going along. And I'm just like, darn. This is no
what
good.
was kind of cool is that originally like Ryan called me because he needed DP. So he was going to put me on as DP for that shoot. And then Tress was going to come along as second AC. But like last minute, he's like, oh, we got DP. They got somebody from like LA who's coming. I was like, all right. but they're like, we'll keep you on the same rate, but just put you as first AC.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
it's like, we still need the second AC, so we'll still need like Tress to come out. And I was like, all right, that sounds cool. And while we were at the shoot, that dude knew his job really well. He was like the most professional one. If it wasn't for him and the assistant director, that shoot probably wouldn't have been done on time, because they were like rushing the director like to get the stuff done, and like the DP was the one like coming up with the shots and like changing up the shot list. But I found out like the first day we were there, I was like, oh, this went pretty smooth. And then like I overhear that they're like rewriting the scenes and then just made up a scene that we shot like outside. I was like, so we really didn't get much done like that we were supposed to today.
Oh man, I heard him and the director butted heads a lot on that shoot.
Yeah. At some point, he just got frustrated because it wasn't really planned out a certain way, so everything was getting changed in the last minute, and the DP was like basically coming up with the shots.
Jesus. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty common narrative amidst a lot of creative top tier people, where, a lot of directors, for whatever reason, they just don't have the technical know-how for like figuring out their shots. And I feel like you just need a person who's like both left and right hemisphere brain, who goes like, oh, I know the vision and I know how to get it. But like generally speaking, you don't have very many directors who are capable of that. And you have also very little, or not usually very little, but it's also a dime a dozen of fine DPs who can also envision things. But I feel like with DPs, it's more common for you to run into DPs who know how to visually get what they need in terms of like post-production. So they inherently also know how to be a director on the flip side. But for whatever reason, I feel like generally I don't land too many DPs like that. Other than if you're watching this, I'm going to plug him in. Josh Reeve, you're probably the best DP I know. I love you, by the way, because you're capable of doing, all of that. And
I'm gonna have to look this dude up. I'm gonna have to look up his reel.
I love him.
I love him. That's a big endorsement coming from you, man.
I would ride all the way to the end of the world and back with that dude. And he's from Nashville, Tennessee, by the way.
There was a show called Rebel Without Crew, the TV show.
Oh yeah.
So it's the Robert Rodriguez like TV show based on his book, right?
Yeah.
So on one of the teams, they basically got split up into teams where you had the writer director team up with like a person of their choice. So it could be any position. So one girl chose the DP, and this guy came with like a really good background, but mostly through school and stuff, and he really wanted to be part of it. So she brings him along, but the guy's very technical about everything to the point where she went to get shots. She's like, is there any way to hook up the camera to the dolly so we could get like a tracking shot? And it was like one of those refrigerator dollies. So it's exactly the thing you were saying that they were teaching you over there. But he was like, no. He was like, if it wasn't something that was already like film equipment, he like didn't want to use it.
Oh and my then God, a fucking elitist.
He wasn't one to like come up with like cool ways to shooting thing, because he wanted to stick to like what he knew. Like, it was like one of those things where you know too much about the technical stuff that you lack like creativity.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, like, I feel like there's people like, for example, ourselves who come from very humble beginnings. We're willing to work with almost whatever. Like, I feel like even nowadays, I still find myself trying to figure stuff out using no longer PVC rigs, but now like speed rail rigs and whatnot. And sometimes I'm just like, you know what? Let's just stick this thing to a shopping cart, because why not? But I mean, now that I have a rickshaw dolly, there's almost no point, and I'm not going to find myself in that situation too often.
I mean, there's no shame in that. Like, you look at you watch behind the scenes some major movies, you see like some of the ways they got some of the weirdest fucking shots. It's like some of the most simple shit you would never think of, just using some random thing out of nowhere. So like that's a really good thing to have.
Oh yeah.
In fact, you can literally just build something out of anything.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Like my first 3 years as a Steadicam operator, I would use wheelchairs.
Yeah, bro.
As rickshaw dollies. And it would get me beautiful slider shots. It would get me beautiful tracking shots where I don't have to worry about balance. But like now that I'm like playing at this like bigger major league field now, I have the Steadicam Volt, so it like automatically levels everything for me. Yeah, because it's like an electronic gimbal on the bottom of the post, which artificially like balances the Steadicam whenever you have it on zero balance. So it makes like a fake bottom or heavy balance on the bottom. But like no matter what you do, it's like almost impossible to get it unleveled. And then I also have the rig shot too. So it's like, you know, it's kind of hard to show up on a shoot and be like, all right, I'm gonna mess this up. I'm gonna make sure that this shot, or you know, I kind of have to force myself to mess something up nowadays. Like, you know, back then or even a year ago, it was like, yeah, I mean, like if there was a little bit of wind or a gust of wind, it's like, sorry, that was in there. it was a characteristic of the operating. But like nowadays, it's like I personally feel like I look better than even like real dollies, because like real dollies, you'll still have like the, you know, the dolly grip accidentally stepping on some areas. You'll have the camera operator readjusting himself sitting on the dolly, so you'll have those little movements, or even like vibrations introduced through the dolly track to the dolly itself. Whereas like the Steadicam, it's like everything's completely isolated, and whenever you're like isolating more movements to like have less responsibilities, and I don't even have to worry about walking, which my walking nowadays is like pretty awesome. And like I'm like, I don't even need a set up dolly track anymore. I'm pretty confident with my like, you know, walk-in push-ins with just my Steadicam alone. But if it needs to be incredibly precise and we need to be incredibly slow, my rickshaw's there, but it's not necessary. But yeah, I mean, like those humble beginnings were like I remember in the very start. I think like even before I met you guys, I was going to Home Depot, and I remember making like a pipe Steadicam where I would use like weightlifting weights on the bottom, and I would use that like kind of like I forgot that one dude's name. He was a sponsor for GlideCam, who would use his Red Epic on
the Graham Devin Graham.
Devin Graham, I think is his name. He was famous, I think, through like
the Super Tramp, right?
Right. Like that's what I was trying to emulate at the time. And I was
I think
he does all
Super
the
Tramp,
action
like
videos.
That?
That kind of Super Tramp. Yeah.
And you know, I was like, this is the most I can do right now. And like that was not even more than I think 8 years ago.
I think I still have one of those like somewhere in my garage with the galvanized pipe and the weight on the bottom.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like those were also like, you know, the how-to videos that they would put up on YouTube going like DIY Steadicam setups, or even those DIY like handhelds where you would build it out of like PVC pipe and then like try to get like
I had one of those
tripod mount and whatnot.
I also had I think one of the last things I built, this was a couple years ago for because I never built one, was just like a car door mount straight out of PVC pipe. I was like, this fucking works. And then as we're doing the last shot, finishing the last shot, it just breaks. I'm like, well, I mean, it did what it needed to. Luckily, you know, my camera didn't get damaged when it fucking fell off the fucking thing, but
that's good.
Yeah.
My mic while he dies.
Yeah. My microphone, which got sat on by a dude on one of your shots a long time ago that I glued back together, finally completely broke with that rig. But that's fine.
Oh man,
I'm shooting on you, Mike. Since, you know,
what shoot was that?
It was a zombie one.
Oh my God,
the first one we ever worked on together.
Yeah,
man, I remember that. It was like a fever dream to me.
Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah. So that's one of those examples where it's like you're like, yeah, this thing turned out like really not great, but that experience, man, for me was amazing. I loved it.
Oh yeah, I mean,
even though I had to buy a new door for that dude because we destroyed his fucking door.
Like it wasn't even that they broke it. It was like it was already falling apart, and someone just stepped on the ledge, and like the bottom fell out. Of that
the bottom
door.
fucking broke completely.
Like it was already like falling apart on its own.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still look back at that video, and I was impressed with what we were able to get. Literally, what was it? Probably 3 days.
Yeah.
3 days. Like we got a lot, and it was very impressive. And
you were on no fucking sleep too, which was insane. You fucking drove to Oklahoma City to get some extras. I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
I mean,
just popping caffeine pills like the whole time.
Yeah.
I was on energy drinks, I think, at the time. I don't remember what it was.
It was caffeine pills. Because one of the actors had them. He's like, here, you have some. And he gave it to all of us when we were heading back. He's like, "Oh, you want some caffeine pills? I'll keep you up."
No, that was awesome. I mean, like it was my first experience as a director, but like I would not take it for the world for what it was, because I mean, sure, it could have been better.
That experience,
but that experience was awesome. Like, and even what we got out of it, like it looked pretty cool. I mean, it obviously doesn't look like anything top tier, but like at the time, I feel like what was it, 2017?
Something like that. Yeah.
2017, I think. I feel like a lot of filmmakers at the time were still making stuff that look even more subpar than that.
Oh no, of course.
Even nowadays, like people were shooting even with like FX3s, FX6s, or even like
the camera they use doesn't matter, man.
Right? No, 100%.
Matter.
Like it's usually the way you put the product together and how good you are. I mean, besides lighting and whatnot, but composition and how well you could cut together things. Because like I feel like generally the consensus that I run into issues with a lot of filmmakers, it's not like how well can you light a scene and how well you can create elaborate shots to get a certain thing, but how well can you get something, and the amalgamation of all those pieces, is it actually cohesive to where it cuts well?
Yeah.
And it actually feels like it's flowing. Because like there's a lot of stuff that I've been involved in where like execution of talent literally changes from shot to shot.
Yeah.
Or like execution of like the camera movements literally goes from like an amazing tracking shot and then suddenly like this random static shot, and then it goes back to elaborate like tracking shots, and it's like, okay, that did not cut well at all.
Yeah. Oof. But like back on the whole gear thing real quick, just about I don't know if I mentioned this in a podcast before. I know we talked about it. My friend Chris with Illumination and his movie was Living After Midnight. They made a feature. One of the guys they made a couple features now, but that was like their first live action feature they did. They had this person who went to Full Sail or some other, I don't know, some place, be their camera person and DP, and they shot on. It was some advanced Sony camera at the time that was like $10,000 ish, I think, that I got.
So it was like one of those first like Sony cinema cameras that came out, right? So it was like the FS700, which is like the first one that could
I see, yeah,
kind of do 4K like externally and stuff, but it was like one of the first few like cinema cameras.
Yeah, and like so they didn't really get the footage from the person. They're like, oh yeah, looks good, looks fine. Fucking shot at what is it? Shutter rate. Yeah, the shutter was like at 30, fucking instead of 50 or whatever the 48 is supposed to be.
It was like,
so it looked really, really bad. Motion blur all over the fucking place. It was like awful. So they went back and reshot almost all of those scenes. There were still some of them that didn't have like time to completely reshoot, but like 90% of the scenes that were shot on that camera, they reshot with a fucking T3i, cleaning it up with some denoiser or whatever. Looked fucking pristine.
Of course.
Compared to like, that fucking multi-$1,000 camera that
100%.
This person just was like, because they were like, yeah, this person has the gear. This person's, it's like imagine you, but shitty. Like
right,
that's 100%. What it was, yeah.
I mean, that there's no difference. I'm kidding.
No, there was.
At least you know how to set your fucking shutter angle, shutter speed, shit.
Yeah, he showed us the footage, and it was like, the shutter was off, so it was all blurry just from the shutter alone.
Yeah.
But for some reason, she might have had like the f-stop like to maybe like 8 or something, and the ISO was way up because it was also like incredibly grainy.
Oh, this is a car, right? Oh, whatever, that's fine. That noise, it happens. We this is the first thing we're doing in the new studio, by the way. We ended up buying, sorry for the kind of tangent, we ended up buying these audio panel things, but they not all of them expanded like they were supposed to, so we only have like small bits of the stuff covered at the moment. So if you hear the echo in this one, I'm going to try to fix it in post, but I don't know, I might just get lazy and just fucking leave it. Who cares? It sounds all right.
Isotope.
I'm going to have to look into that and get that.
It's awesome. I mean, I feel like I use it almost all the time on things that I have to do.
Dude, honestly, on the last podcast, like I was trying out different AI software, and I tried like the Adobe Podcast. Like if you just go to that website, adobe.podcast, it just does a voice enhance. So it works to enhance like voices, and it doesn't matter if it's multiple voices or not, but it makes it sound like it's all recorded in studio. It takes away all the noise, and like somehow it works pretty well if you fumble the mic too. It manages to take out the fumble noises.
Interesting.
But you could still hear some like distortion from that but as far as like how well it takes it away, it's pretty good. And
Yeah, I didn't even
that
realize
the
you
last
went
one.
through it. Like, it sounded really good. I was like, this audio sounds like better than I remember it sounding when we recorded.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, I did an AI thing. I was like, shit, all right.
I want to circle back to the whole AI discussion here in a second, but I want to jump back to the discussion of gear stuff. So, like, one of the funny questions I get a lot, and I actually had this question asked literally last night, was, do you think it matters what camera you use when it comes to, you know, shooting certain things? I'm like, no. And, you know, going back to what you discussed, the T3i versus the FS700, was that what it was? The
Yeah, the
F700.
FS 700.
Yeah. Like, I've worked on some stuff where people are using like the Alexa LFs, and then I've also worked with stuff where people are using like the Komodos and whatnot. Which, you know, that's a huge price jump. Like, the LFs I think are going for about $80,000, whereas the Komodos are probably like the fully kitted out thing about $9,000, maybe $10,000.
Yeah.
But then I've also worked with people who are shooting on like FX6s or something like that, or even FX9s, or even like GH5s.
Yeah.
I'm going to start off with that, with GH5s, and they've managed to pull out and crank out something that looks more cinematic than what I've seen some people use with the Alexa LFs or even the Alexa Minis.
Yeah.
And it just comes back down to how well your cinematographer or camera operator knows what they're doing, or even director. Ultimately, what their end goal is going to look like, and how well adept they are to like making it piece together and flowing well. And ultimately, I feel like the part where it stands out the most is just with sound design and with color grading. And also knowing which pieces can fit well on cutting and whatnot. But that's your homework that goes in like pre-production and having an idea of a vision. But generally speaking, like nowadays, it does not matter what camera you use. And this is coming from a guy who like consistently shoots with, you know, high cinema level cameras. Like, we've had to use some stuff where it's like the backup cameras have to be like the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras, or you know, Komodos or whatever, or even the Kinfinities, or Kinfinities. I don't know how it's pronounced. But, you know, we've managed to cut it well. Like, you can't even tell the difference between the cameras. I mean, sure, if you were to pay attention to like motion cadence and like the finer details, you could probably tell. But for the most part, your audience is not going to tell the difference. And if they can't tell the difference, it's because you probably have a technical snob who's watching the thing. But, you know, ultimately...
the only time you would tell the difference is if literally either you watch it multiple times or the story isn't gripping you.
Right.
Otherwise, you're not going to care. Like, story is what's important.
Right, 100%. And I mean, like, if they can tell the difference, your colorist probably did a bad job.
Yeah.
Because, like, I've shot several things now where I've had to cut in between, like, Alexas, and I've had to cut between reds. And, you know, color correction can do phenomenal things. But then, like, ultimately, putting it all together with, like, color grades, it's like you really can't tell the difference between any of the shots and what you're actually using. And I've worked on some stuff where, like, people are using the exact same cameras and lenses, and somehow they can't figure it out either.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you'll have, like, someone using Angenu lenses, and then suddenly they hop on to, like, Cooks or something. Or... for the lack of any other knowledge of any other lenses that I don't know what shift they might have, but like the Zines, where I think they consistently have a more magenta hue, and then Angenus have more of a green hue. So like they'll jump from lens to lens, and they just won't correct the green or magentas. And whenever they put out the movies, it's like, that was a very easy, let me dial this around.
Literally like a super small dial, yeah.
Right.
I think even with the cheaper version of the Zines, the Rokinon to a Zine,
Yeah.
the Rokinons tend to be kind of greenish. And then
Right.
like when you go to the Zine, they're more like magenta.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, like, it's just like, you know, that's a very easy fix in post. Like, TBH, most people can't tell the difference between lenses either, unless you're jumping from like a hardcore anamorphic or like using vintage lenses, and then suddenly you jump to like a master prime or something like that. Then sure, everyone's gonna be like, whoa, what happened here?
But I mean, bro, at the end of the day, like literally, at the end of the day, this.
Right.
I mean, well, this specifically, I like this one because they actually have Hasselblad lenses in it, so that's nice. But like, I remember a couple of years ago, I think we were still in TCC, like 2015ish. This movie came out called Tangerine, shot completely on iPhone 5.
Right.
The full fucking movie. It looked fantastic.
Right.
So like, you can pull shit out of like anything really. Granted, of course, you know, the better cameras you have, the more light control you have. So
100%.
therefore, you can worry a little bit less about completely flooding your scenes with light.
Yeah.
But like, still, if you're able to compensate for that, like literally anything can make you a film. Granted, like you said, the tools make it easier. But
right. I mean, ultimately, that's just the main difference that it comes with, like the different price tags for these cameras.
I always say, like, if you're looking for a new camera, the main thing to look at, not so much resolution, but probably the bit rate for the camera.
100%. Yeah. Bit rate.
What you could do with color matters more than the actual resolution of it.
Mm-hmm.
So even like most new phones have pretty good bit rate. Like some of these even have like a log format.
Jeez.
Like I think this one shoots log, and it has like what's the Sony one? The Venice color signs, the cinema scope or whatever.
Yeah.
That not cinema scope. I forgot what they call it, but they have the cinema color signs from Venice in these phones now.
Jesus Christ. That's insane. I mean, I'm not sure what it might be, but I mean, like that's insane to think that even phones have that capability now, and more to show that ultimately the only thing that matters really is story and your creativity. Because like TBH, like you give a camera to anybody can shoot anything.
yeah,
But can you tell a convincing, awesome story? That's really where you split, the winners from, I guess the rest of the people.
No, you should have said it.
Oh, the losers.
There you go.
Sorry. There has to be losers in society. Sorry.
There has to be.
And I mean, not all of us have to be losers all the time. We can also be winners sometimes, but not all the time.
yeah.
But in any case, yeah, I mean, like that's really the only thing that stands out for a lot of people, and the reason why a lot of filmmakers are quote unquote struggling. It's because like, there's a whole sea of content that's coming out at unprecedented levels because of how easy the threshold is to crank out movies nowadays is. And they're like, well, why is my film not getting $10 million, and why am I not get the backing and producers? It's like, well, the first issue is like, go ahead and line up. There's like 10,000 other people who have the same idea as you, of wanting to make a movie and trying to cash grab off that. And then second is like, you also usually don't run into people who have great creative ideas with something that people would be captivated by. Because like most filmmakers that I run into want to make like a very dramatic piece where, it takes place in some Victorian home of some sort.
Yeah.
And like, they're dealing with some form of mental illness. And it's like, great. There's like 50 other ones that are the exact same thing on this festival alone.
Exactly.
Thanks for showing something that's new and, fun. And then like you have the people who are comedic who'll pull off something funny every once in a while, but like they don't put much thought into like some overarching plot. They just go like,
it's like skits and scenes,
right?
But the comedy is situational, not in the full sense of the story,
right?
Yeah.
And like, I mean, like one of the things that I usually tell people nowadays is like, well, look at what indie films are really getting out there that are making it right now, and just attach that to a three-act structure, and focus on dynamic character arcs, and you'll practically pull anybody in. But add the little pizzazz of a cool character that you feel like you could probably sell in merchandise. Because I feel like nowadays with the whole creative scene, the only way you could truly make it is if you make it to where you can see the characters beyond the movie itself, and you could sell the idea even beyond the movie. And if you can't do that, then your movie's probably going to be a hard sell, not only to producers and distributors, but to audiences as well, because most people don't want to watch stuff that you could just shove away and then forget about. Most people want to watch stuff that they can wear on t-shirts, put on stickers, have statues of, really show off the thing. But nowadays, most people aren't really thinking about creating something that they would think it would be a classic or something that they could sell off and be like, wow, this is something where, I could literally make, a whole entire movement off of, or, fan clubs and whatnot. Most people nowadays kind of just want to shoot, like I mentioned, a drama or a Western or some horror film about another paranormal character, or somebody finds out that it's just a mental illness of like somebody realizing that the monster has been themselves the whole entire time.
Yeah. But I mean, you gotta stack the shelves of Walmart with B movies, and you gotta stack Netflix with random stuff that's not just all these big things. So there has to be a market for that. And that's where all those films go. That's literally all those films go.
Right. No, 100%. I mean, most of those movies will probably not see the light of the day, like, because they need to be shelved. And I mean, I will say this. There is a good thing about making trash, even like high budgeted trash, like movies that have like maybe $20 million or even $30 million, because it gives people jobs. I mean, like that's, the best aspect about making movies in general, because like I feel like if it wasn't for those, then I wouldn't have a pedestal to stand on. I don't think any of us would, because like generally, like the only way we can get our gears going is by actually getting involved to begin with. And most movies that would be those top tiers, I mean, I'm pretty sure Marvel's not going to be looking at us going like, you know what, these guys should direct She-Hulk or something. I don't know.
What's weird, like Marvel has been getting like smaller directors, but they've been pulling them from like TV shows. Like the Russo brothers started on Community. They did like Arrested Development, Community, and then just went straight to Marvel.
Yeah, but those aren't small shows. Those shows are very well received.
Popular.
Right.
Well, and then like Community is one of those shows that it's kind of here and there because it gets canceled, gets renewed, then gets switched to a network. And then you got Chloe Zhao, who did like Nomadland. That was like her big movie, and it was like a big indie movie, and just really well shot and everything. And then they just picked her up straight from like the indie circuit and to go direct like the Eternals. So I was like, they're looking for talent like in different places.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean like they'll just pick you out. This is like Chloe Zhao, who's like they knew has been doing well in like film festivals. And then like her professor and also like one of the producers on her movie, or like somebody she credits in the movie, was Spike Lee.
Oh, of course. That would help. I mean, sometimes it's just who you know.
And then Ryan Coogler too, the Black Panther director.
Yeah.
He did indie movies before he jumped on that, but I think it helped that he started having like started working with studios, because he went from Fruitville Station with Michael B. Jordan, and then like ended up doing Creed right before getting Black Panther.
That's crazy. But I mean, like, even then, like those are more logical jumps than going from like,
dude who
backyard shooting.
Yeah, exactly.
To
going like that, but at least they're going through like the, I guess more.
It's still the indie,
because it's
kind of popular indie scene,
kind of indie, or like smaller sections where you normally wouldn't see those jumps.
Right.
Because even for the Russos going from like TV to like these big movies, that was a big thing.
That is a big thing. And I mean, like, I feel that in these times, that's probably the most common than any other time.
It was strange because they were pulling directors from indie, like even Taika Waititi. He went from like he made the most he went like he made the biggest movie in New Zealand, I guess.
New Zealand, yeah.
The biggest indie movie there, and then just went straight into like Marvel with Thor.
They did a good job. I really like that movie.
Well, actually, Peter Jackson was also in New Zealand.
Well, of course, but it's not an indie movie.
Yeah, but it was like, as far as indie movies go, I think his was
by the
like
way,
5
holy
million.
fucking shit, 20 fucking years. God damn. 20 years. So Return of the King came out 20 years ago. The last Lord of the Rings movie.
Christ.
They're all finished shooting back in 01, so like 23, but like still 20 years ago, the last Lord of the Rings movie came out. I mean, granted, like towards the end of the year, but still 20 years ago. Holy shit, we are old fucks. God damn.
Yeah.
Well, I was like 11, but still.
I was going to say the jump from Peter Jackson going from I'm probably gonna start off on his like lower level stuff first, but going from Meet the Feebles to the Frighteners and then to Lord of the Rings, like that's insane. Especially because if I was in that kind of level where they're like, hey, you make the Lord of the Rings, I'm gonna be like, no.
You're like, hell no, I can't do that shit justice. But he fucking did.
But he did. No, I mean, like, I think Lord of the Rings is like one of the greatest things to grace the cinema screen.
I mean, even he couldn't top himself.
Right.
Yeah,
like, that's how insane it is. What was his last movie? Something Machines?
Oh, Mortal Engines.
Oh, Mortal Engines. There we go. I was like, it has to do something with machines.
I didn't watch it. Was it any good?
It's about cities that move on like giant treadmills, basically.
He needs to go back to the source. Look back at what's it called? Oh man, I can't believe I'm blanking out. Bad Taste, and looking at brain damage, and even Meet the Feebles, and go like, all right, you know what? Back to the splatter scene. I mean, that's what what's it called? I was gonna say James Gunn did that, but no, he didn't. He's that's what got him his start. Starting off in Trauma and then jumping off and doing Slither, and then I forgot what he did after that.
I don't know what he did after Slither, but he was writing a bunch of movies, because even Scooby-Doo was written by James Gunn.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Scooby-Doo 2 was also written by him. But he did the Scooby-Doo movies as a writer, and then directed Slither. And I guess the one that made him popular was Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And then he's been producing stuff with his brother, which was like that like evil Superman movie, Brightburn.
Brightburn, yeah.
But he's been producing like indie stuff still, even while he's making these big movies. And now that they gave him like a free, basically like just do whatever you want with like the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
You saw what he does with like no restrictions. And arguably some people were like more like they like Guardians over what he did there because it's a little too much. Yeah. I was even talking to Ryan. Ryan said he didn't watch Peacemaker because it's like it's a little much. But I was like, usually he's great at making these movies. They got great energy. Like everything I've seen from him so far has been like really entertaining, which I was like, that should be like the main goal for everything. Just make it really fun, really entertaining.
Right.
I mean, you gotta watch those. You gotta love those movies. Like they're just there for pure fun. Besides everything else, like one of my favorite movies recently, and this is just because I love shitty action movies. Violent Night. Oh my fucking god, that was such a fun trip. Such a fun trip. Oh my god, I loved every second of it.
We went to go watch Megan not too long ago.
Megan
was actually fun. Yeah,
okay,
it's really
good.
funny. It's like a horror comedy.
See, I feel like that's
Cocaine Bear?
a giant resurgence. Oh, Cocaine Bear is a must.
Well, 100%.
I need to watch that movie, like to no end. But I was going to say the one thing that, you know, and your filmmakers out there take note, because like the movies that are coming out are just like, what? This is being made? One is Cocaine Bear. I mean, Universal Studios is making a movie called Cocaine Bear. I mean, everyone's taking note. Horror comedies is what has always been the bread and butter of indie movies that make it to the big screen eventually. And now the big productions are like, okay, this is what a lot of audiences are looking at right now. And one of the movies that kind of put that, I feel like, on a bigger perspective for a lot of indie filmmakers is Damien Leone's Terrifier 2, which, you know, budget of $250,000, which was crowdfunded, set out to make $12 million at the box office. And like, I'm pretty sure it's still even making more under Cinedime's Bloody Disgusting's Screenbox, I think is the subscription service that they have it under. I'm not 100% sure
on their streaming service.
I think it's called Screenbox. I could check back later, and you guys, I'm pretty sure, can correct the mid dialogue or something in post or something. I don't know. But in any case, you know, everyone's kind of like put their sights on going like, hey, you know, this horror slasher thing, it's very profitable. And I mean,
always
like,
been, man.
it always has been since the dawn of horror slashers. And the first movie to basically set that into precedence, I feel like, on a large scale was Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween.
Yeah.
Which, you know, literally everyone was like, hey, let's do this because, like, they literally did that. And then you had a whole entire decade where people, like, have been making slashers, and then it died down near the end of the decade. But then the thing that resurged it again was another horror slasher, the whole entire horror scene with Scream. And what's it called? What was the other one? I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah.
And then even now in these days, we're getting a resurgence in horror slashers again with like the Halloween remakes, or whatever you want to call it, the 40 years later or something.
Yeah.
The not remakes, but the Halloween sequels that skip everything canonically from the second movie to the eighth movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's been a lot of those where now it's like they follow the original movie and skip whatever was in between of the sequels and just basically makes a new timeline. So now you have diverging timelines of movies you could follow.
Oh, 100%. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that is about, but I mean, if it makes producers happy, sure. But
I mean, it kind of makes sense because
they tried like a full reboot with Rob Zombies, because that was a full reboot of them.
That was a full reboot.
But it makes sense if you think about it this way, though. Like the first Halloween, a ton of people have seen that. The second one, way less. The third one on, like 2 people maybe saw the fucking movie.
Right.
I mean, exaggerating, but of course. And so, but everybody knows what the first one is. You make a sequel to the 8th one that nobody's ever fucking seen. Who's gonna give a shit about Halloween 9? But you make a sequel to the original at a different timeline because everybody's seen that.
Right.
You know, now all these years later, you know, that can grab more people.
Precisely. And I mean, like,
they tried doing that with the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Netflix one.
There's just so many reiterations of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise that I'm just like,
that one's supposed to be an actual sequel to the original one.
Oh God.
Yeah. So they were trying to do the same thing as Halloween, and they even set up like a sequel to that. So they tease like a continuation.
Well, see, I mean, that just kind of goes again to show that horror slashers will always be the thing that a lot of these big distribution companies are going to be like, hey, let's revitalize this because it's making a lot of money. And I mean, like, the other thing is like I mentioned a little earlier, is like the merchandising for this sells through the roof. And I mean, like, even to these days, you could still walk into like Hot Topic or Spirit Halloweens whenever they're around and still buy merch for these movies that were made 40 years ago, you know, like Gremlins even, and, you know, all these other things and knickknacks, and, or even like Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And the Chiodo brothers are getting ready to make another movie. And, you know, like I mentioned, take note, guys, horror comedies is the way to go, because everyone's going to look at this thing and be like, wow, what a great design of these movies, and how fun is it to just shut my brain off and look at these, like...
So yeah, literally the dude that made me get into filmmaking is all about horror comedies. John Johnson, like his Darkstone Entertainment, he's actually right now working on a Manos remake, which is hilarious. He remade Plan 9, which is kind of shitty, but I like his actual original stuff a little bit better. Even though, like, you kind of have to know what you're going into. Right. You have to know, like, this is a shitty, low-budget horror comedy movie. But yeah, I mean, dude's been, you know, making a living off of making, you know, movies, making films, making whatever the hell he wants for the last fucking 30 years. So I'm like, and you know, I mean, dude's not rich, but he's got, you know, he's got a decent house, he's got making a decent living, always doing what he loves, and, you know, and doing some field work on the side, you know, commercials, weddings, etc., whatever the hell, you know, you got to supplement with. Yeah. So I'm like, that's just super fucking cool, you know, and so that's honestly what I kind of want to do at some point eventually. But yeah, you know, right now I'm stuck where you were, a fucking stockbroker, whatever bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be the most ideal path, I feel like, to consistently always be creating something, and I feel like that's the pathway that most creators want to be, where they're consistently creating things. And I mean, that's the little revelation that I've been having lately. And I mean, like, since you guys first met me and I met you guys, the whole reason I even got into the filmmaking scene was because I wanted to make a movie myself. Yeah. Like,
any progress on that, by that way? I know that's a movie you've been talking about since like a billion years.
I know. No, I stopped focusing on that one because that one's gonna be my magnum opus.
Okay.
But now the movie that I'm focusing on, because I know it's a lot cheaper and I know that it will sell out of the gate, is a movie called Night of the Shadow Man, which is basically the Hat Man coming into this world and, you know, messing things up, and like the characters are off the wall, and
Nice.
pretty much a vibe of like Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street in terms of like the aesthetics and the production value. But the characters are pretty much going to act pretty wonky and goofy, and like I'm not sure if there's very many movies I can pull from the top of my hat.
But not predictable though.
Huh?
But not predictable, right?
No, not very predictable. I mean, like if there's movies I could probably look at, it's probably like something like Velocipaster.
I need to
Which
watch
I
that
love
still.
Velocipaster. If you guys haven't seen Velocipaster, watch it. It's a gem. But the acting on that is over the top. It's goofy. It's silly. But like, you know, that's kind of the vibe I want to have with my characters. Or like another movie is Love Witch. The Love Witch. I don't know if y'all have seen that one.
I know of that one, but
Yeah, the characters are also very goofy.
I think you need to send us like a list chronologically so we can watch it.
Yeah, I could send out a list and be like, all right, or we could have movie nights and stream it and be like, all right.
the guy who's like really into like the indie horror movies isn't here, but Kevin.
Yeah.
Kevin's big into him. He's the one that took me to watch Terrifier 2. I was like, I haven't even heard this one. And then he's like, no, come on. So every time I end up hanging out with him, we end up watching some weird like indie movie.
Either that or you watch Father's Day for the third time.
Jesus Christ.
No, we watched Father's Day at Frightmare, Texas Frightmare. So we watched it. We had big audience, and like the first time we watched it, we had the audience to go off of, and like everyone was laughing, having fun. Like we generally found the movie funny, and then we are like, oh, we should do a movie night because he bought the movie, and I was like, oh, we should do a movie night with everybody from the podcast. But we put it on, it does not hold up. Like, it
100%.
felt so long. It's such a long movie. I was like, and then we look at the time. It's only like a 70-minute movie.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, even Manuel's like crying just thinking about it.
sorry, Manuel. But yeah, I mean, like I like to have those movies where it's like fast paced. It resolves quickly and it gets to the point on each scene, and not like consistently just like middling around, like just going like, all right, now I'm gonna do something boring or normal or whatever. Like another movie that comes to mind is Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, or Revenge of the Killer Tomatoes, the second one. Like how they consistently resolve each scene, and then like they're so out of the box on that movie, where like they even have a scene, and I'm gonna spoil it for everybody, so if you haven't seen it, just skip the next probably 40 seconds or something, where like suddenly the whole entire production, the cast goes like, hold up, we don't have enough money to shoot this scene right now. So they start doing like all these like product placements, where they're like, with Coca-Cola, I can have a refreshing beverage to speak whatever I need to speak right now. And then like they'll suddenly go put like a Kellogg's cereal in the shot while they're still talking. And it's over the top. It's funny. And, you know, stuff like that I feel like needs to happen more in these films that come out nowadays.
So first off, I was going to say, it sounds like you want to make Evil Dead 2. But now that you said that product placement stuff, I'm like, now you really want to make Armor of Darkness.
No, 100%. Army of Darkness is my thing.
I fucking love that movie.
TBH, I want to emulate more styles like Velocipaster,
Yeah, of course.
The Love Witch, stuff that's so like over the top. You're like, what? Not necessarily Trauma, because Trauma is more like really wonky and over the top. And I love Trauma. I mean, like one of my favorite movies to show off to people right out of the gate as they're like meeting me is Citizen Toxie 4, the Toxic Event, or the Toxic Avenger 4, Citizen Toxie, and then Poultrygeist, which are both over the top, and you have all this raunchiness happening left and right. But like I want some wholesome, like almost teetering PG-13, over the top horror comedies. But like the gore is probably not going to make it PG-13, because I want people to like have their hands chopped off and then like heads come off, and you could tell that it's like a fake head, or even like a completely different skin tone coming off.
You could do what Lee the Battle Angel does and just change the color of the blood.
I could.
That's a gory movie. Have you seen Alita?
Of course I've seen it.
Dude, like they just start killing like the cyborgs.
Yeah.
and they
They're all
just
just like,
bleed
yeah.
blue blood.
Yeah, I'm on oil. Yeah, bro. But speaking of like really bad like effect stuff like that, I think you recommended Riccio. Was it you?
Yes,
Oh my
Riccio.
god, bro.
I love Riccio.
Oh my god.
See, I want to make movies like Riccio too.
I fucking love like I think like at the very beginning the girl jumps off the building and just throw a fucking stiff dummy off the fucking roof, bro. It's gold. It's fucking gold.
Y'all
You watched
watch
that
Riccio
movie,
as
right?
well.
Yeah. You watched it with us, right? What did you think of Riccio?
No, you showed me the scene.
Oh, I thought you watched it with
No,
us.
I didn't watch it. With
Now we need to watch Riccio.
Well, no,
It
we
might
watched
have
it.
been Manual.
Was it man? Was it you?
You
Or-
watch Riccio?
Which one of
with us?
y'all watched Riccio at my house?
I didn't watch it.
I
There
think
was, there was somebody else with
pretty sure
us.
it
But I do remember.
No,
that.
it was him. It was fucking
No,
him.
it wasn't me.
Oh, whatever. Fine. But I didn't show you
Confusing them
those
with
scenes.
Adrian
Yeah.
again.
No, it wasn't Adrian.
Another movie you guys need to watch is Flesh Gordon 2 meets the Cosmic Cheerleaders. It's basically a softcore porno, but with a lot of money behind it. I feel like they probably had like $3 million or something like that.
Why?
They have great production value. But like,
Why?
How far back was that?
It's a fucking
I think
tax
it was the
write-off?
80s, huh?
The 80s? Is
Yeah.
it before that Flash Gordon movie? Because I know that it used to be like a series back in the day.
No, but like way
it
back.
was after Flash Gordon.
Yeah, Flash Gordon was like 50, 60.
Yeah, I mean, it was a rip off the movie because they called it Flesh Gordon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Flesh Gordon 2 meets the Cosmic
Oh,
Cheerleaders.
Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
Okay. I just heard Flash Gordon.
No,
The
Flesh
host-
Gordon. Flesh Gordon. Over the
And
top
like
raunchy
apparently
movie.
they wouldn't let George Lucas like revive the franchise, so he ended up coming up with Star Wars because he wanted to do his own space thing.
Yeah, I heard about that. Hey,
And then
Tressford,
they tried to compete with Star Wars, and it's like it didn't hit the same.
you're really emulating the energy of Manuel in this podcast by not talking.
I can't.
Say
the
something.
The mic's not working.
All right, the mic's not working.
It's not, so I can't speak much.
We can hear you.
I can hear me.
Yeah.
I can hear you fine.
I can't hear me, so it feels like I'm not
Can
even
you-
saying anything.
Yeah, well, we can hear you. Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We can hear you just fine.
So I want to touch on like a point you made on then, because I feel like I can't even hear myself, so it feels like I'm not even saying anything.
Yeah, we hear you clearly. Sorry,
Oh,
man.
okay.
You should have said.
No,
you just
because I
spoke
just
up
saw it.
earlier if
I
it was
just
an
saw
issue,
it.
man.
Can you hear like yourself right now?
No, I can only hear you.
Check your cables.
Okay, I'm catching it now.
Okay, you hear it?
Yeah, I hear that now.
Oh, that's weird, dude.
Yeah,
Maybe
Okay, is
the
it
cables.
too
Maybe
high?
the cable was crimped or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
But no, we heard you the whole time.
All
Man.
right, perfect. Okay. So I'm gonna rewind back just a little bit. You touched on a point, actually, man, that resonated really hard with me. So you talked about movies having characters that go past the movie.
Right.
Yeah. Since you've been on the podcast since I guess 2 years ago, have you seen any movies since then that have caught your attention, as in having those characters drive forward beyond the actual storyline?
Yeah, I have, and some of them are really dumb too. One of my favorite ones is a Scare Package, and the sequel as well, which revolves around this one dude called Rad Chad, and he runs a show called Rad Chad's Emporium, and it's basically a little horror anthology. But like, they're so over the top, the characters are so wonky, but like, it's one of those things where you're just like, oh, they're doing this now, and it's like you could shut your brain off and not realize that like an hour and a half passed by,
Okay.
you know. But it was so much to the point where I'm just like, oh, I'm down to sport this because of the whole vibe and aesthetic that they had. Because like that's the other thing about the charm of like 80s horror movies, at least for me, is that not only do they have like cool characters sometimes, but they have great posters, they have great titles, they have great soundtracks.
Yes.
That's why like sometimes it's not even just about characters, but how awesome of a soundtrack you can have, how awesome of a whole poster you could have, even if the poster doesn't match with what you're shooting. Kind of like what movie was it? What was that one movie that Sid Haid was in that he was like, live by the crystal, die by the crystal? Galaxy of Terror. The poster of the movie has nothing to do with the movie itself. like they just were like, you know what? Let's just make a poster. Or even the first Friday the 13th. Sean Cunningham, I think that was the name of the guy who made the first Friday the 13th.
I'm not sure, but I know that one didn't have Jason at all, right?
No, I mean it did have Jason. It had Jason as like a
very
kid who
end.
gets
Kid,
killed, but
yeah.
then his mom is the one who's killing everybody. But the thing is, the movie only got made because a producer saw a poster that said Friday the 13th, the scariest movie you've ever seen, and Sean Cunningham, I think that's his name, I'm not sure, didn't have a story at all. He just had a great poster that he just made and was like, hopefully somebody will pick it up. And then like as they were like trying to pick it up, they were like, oh yeah, I got the story ready. And he like literally like went through and made a script out of like nothing. And that's how Friday the 13th was made, because somebody saw a poster.
Back in the day, you could sell movies just based on the poster or something just based on an idea. Usually they'll come up with the poster before coming up with the script.
It's just something
And that was
insane,
like the Roger Corman times. Like that's his
the
whole
Roger
model.
Corman formula.
He would sell like 10 movies at the same time, get the budget to make one big one and then like a bunch of small ones and just sell them as a package.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just the whole vibe. If you can capture the audience just with a poster alone or with a soundtrack, and then maybe a cool character that can catch people's eyes just by looking at the thing, you know, that's I feel like enough to get a threshold into people watching your stuff to begin with. But then the part that I feel that's the most important out of all of that is creating characters that will transcend the movie itself, which in my opinion, I think in these last 2 years since I last spoke on this podcast, the one character that I feel that has been able to manage that very well is Art the Clown from Terrifier. Like, people now see him as like this thing outside of the movie too. And people are like cosplaying him at like conventions. They're like sporting stickers. They're making their own forms of Art the Clown, or even like making comics and whatnot. Like, the character has literally transcended its own movie.
I haven't seen it. I gotta check it out.
I think Art the Clown's based like on Bobo the Clown? Or
Yeah.
what? Yeah.
I think it's Bobo
And
the
it's
Clown.
like the 1920s, 1930s like clown cartoon that used to be like rotoscoped. So it's just a guy actually doing the dance and stuff, and they'll like draw the clown over it, and it's just a black and white costume. So that's basically Art the Clown, but he has like monster teeth, like shark teeth, and like a little tiny hat. And then like what they did, they also made like a female version of it within the movie. So he's like, they don't even explain what she is. She starts off like a hallucination, but then she's like real. The movie's just weird. So you have those two that people cosplay, and then the main character Sienna, like she comes out with a Halloween costume, and like there's been girls like dressing up as Sienna also.
Man, but like, speaking of stuff like that, I can't think of a good example off the top of my head, but I know things like this exist. We're talking about transcending stuff. There's a lot of movies, a lot of franchises that are made from like secondary characters, some random off movie you've never heard of. And then you just look at it, you're like, wait, holy shit, like this was a different movie. This thing wasn't even a main character, and they made this whole series about. I don't know what, like, I don't know like any examples of my head right now, but I know that's been a thing, which is super fun.
I mean,
when
like,
that happens.
that's more common in TV shows. Like, one of the notable examples that I know of is like Better Call Saul, which is a spin-off from Breaking Bad, you know, going off Saul Goodman, the lawyer.
Just extend the lids fully. That's fine. I guess that's fine.
All right.
You know, and then that show did phenomenally too. Another one is What We Do in the Shadows. Like, they ran off with an idea, and you don't even. I mean, occasionally you do have some of the old school actors that were in the original movie in the show now, but like they're now running with their whole entire show, because like the whole idea of What We Do in the Shadows has transcended its original base movie.
That's been a good show. I've been watching that one.
I love What We Do in the Shadows.
I have no idea what that movie is.
You should watch it.
It's great. It's like a horror mockumentary. It's just
Documentary.
mockumentary. Like mockumentary is a documentary that's not real. It's just made for fun.
Like
it's
Borat.
just comedy.
Like Borat, yeah.
Yeah.
I like it when I'm like surrounded by people like that are into things that I have no idea or haven't really dealt or dove into as deeply as you guys have. And I like entering your world, especially you, Jorg. You have a very interesting mind, and I like your view on movies and how you actually see them in your own vision, and I like that. So I really want to get like a list from you.
Oh, for
what
sure.
movies to like actually watch, man, because that's dope.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, like, I myself don't just stop at like just horror comedies either. And, you know, the audience goes like, oh man, you know, screw this guy because this guy only talks about horror comedies and that's his only interest. But
Nah, man.
no, I mean, like I like
Good
the
movie's a
plethora
good
of
movie.
all the movies, but I mean, let's be honest here. As indie filmmakers, we're not going to get a movie like Interstellar under our belts.
No.
I mean, not anytime soon, but you know, I love movies like that at that kind of level too. But you know, you have to be such an established filmmaker to even get those kinds of movies, you know, to get out there. But
I
you
mean,
know,
it's doing stuff like that is a little bit easier now.
It is.
With so stuff I'm playing around with right now, which I'm very slowly getting to learning what I kind of might want to try and do over here. Which I might need help with, your help especially because you're decent at lighting and I'm shit at it, is you know, doing virtual production but with like a green screen where you mount the Vive trackers onto your camera.
Yeah.
So you're literally, as you're moving through space, you're moving through the.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so you track your cameras
Yeah.
in Unreal, so your character's in the same place. All you gotta do is match up the lighting, and you're doing like these fucking great fucking scenes.
well, and this is a conversation that I wanted to eventually get to in this podcast was besides the whole AI thing, which I was going to circle back eventually, is I feel like the future of filmmaking in general is going to lead to Unreal Engine. So
Yeah.
just even getting that on your belt as soon as possible, I think is like absolute like paramount necessity, because it doesn't matter whether you're a small production or a huge production. All filmmaking is going to eventually go to where they're going to want to use Unreal Engine almost all the time. And the technology is already here. I'm pretty sure most productions are not going to want to back out of that. And eventually it's going to, I'm sure it's going to cannibalize the market, just like how every other forms of like technology have, like how green screen basically killed matte painting.
Of course.
And I'm sure Unreal Engine is going to kill green screens. To a
Yeah,
degree.
I mean, it's gonna kill that. It might kill like a lot of artists and stuff like that.
What,
as well.
what I meant is Unreal Engine is going to kill a lot of post-production CG workflow.
Yeah.
Which, sure, you know, the argument can be said that it you know, it can be done in pre-production now, but for the most part, it's like that technology partnered with AI allows us to create these worlds fairly easy and fairly quickly, and to the point where it's like you don't need to hire a whole entire studio of artists anymore, because like you have this technology that can, for the most part, figure it out for you, literally with just like plugging in a couple things and be like, all right, this is pretty close to what I need.
Yeah. But yeah, what inspired me kind of to do that was I don't know if you're familiar with Corridor Digital, Corridor people on YouTube. They recently did this series called Son of a Dungeon, where it's literally like them doing a D&D game, but they've 3D scanned all their boards, and they were doing virtual production where they're like in the boards and stuff as like
That's insane.
they're cosplaying themselves and like doing the characters and doing the whole thing, and that's super fucking cool.
What was that?
It's called Son of a Dungeon.
Son of a Dungeon. Okay.
It's specifically, I mean, it is most of it is locked behind a paywall. It's like a $40. It's like $4 per month, I think, something like that. So not too bad on their website, but they have like a couple episodes free if you want to look at it.
Yeah, I mean,
YouTube.
I'd love to see what they're doing, because like,
But there's a new stuff that I mean, so I was gonna get like some of the cheap shit, but they have like a, I think it's like $5,000-$6,000 where it's like tracks it for you super easily, where you don't really have to do the software back end part. So I'm like, I want to try to do the cheap shitty way, spend like $1,000 on it, and then if I find it's actually worth doing, definitely want to upgrade and buy like the $5,000-$10,000 system that makes it so easy to do.
right. And I mean, eventually, I feel like, you know, with one production alone, it could pay itself off.
Of course.
You know, if productions start going like, oh, this person is capable of doing that, because TBH, there's not very many people that I personally know who are playing in those realms, because most creatives are usually either too busy editing or too busy working as crew, and not really learning to sharpen up their skills on like the new technologies that are like coming their way. And you know, that I feel is like going to be the most paramount technology to have on your arsenal, because you know, it's here and almost everybody wants to do that now.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's gonna make a lot of stuff easier. Really,
yeah, and I
honestly.
mean, the bigger studios like broadcast studios are doing that now.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're gonna charge an arm and a leg, whereas, you know, ourselves, you could charge.
I can bring a
lot
dude
less.
back in here in the back of this room and just be like, hey, yo, you know, we're doing a simple stand in a corner, green screen thing.
Right.
Easy. Fucking super easy for music videos, bro. Like,
Oh,
a lot of
100%.
people are going to want that just for that specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
Yeah.
Because I kind of want to make stuff where it's like suddenly whatever rap artist is like in like some giant mansion or something, or some like weird hell realm where they're like trying to battle the devil or something. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Exactly. Fucking, oh, so you're talking about, what is it? Lil Nas X, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, bro, that
No,
music
no.
video, like, sure, whatever you think of it, but that music video was fucking amazing.
The work on it, absolutely.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, I get it. It's not everybody's cup of tea. But that music video, the fucking goes like what he like what dap dances on Satan and then like rips his head off or some shit. Like sure, yeah, it's weird.
He's still talking.
Why? Okay, am I turning you on, Tressford? Like,
No,
is this?
no. Oh god.
But still, the execution of that looked fucking amazing.
Execution, it's
like way
amazing.
better than like the CG on that shit's like better than you've seen fucking movies. How good that shit was.
Oh, yeah.
Tris, I want to get your
No.
opinion on that.
Fuck no.
that music video. I want to know why you're responding this way. I haven't seen the music video, so I just want to get opinions on.
Don't watch it.
Don't
Yeah.
watch it.
Bless your eyes. Don't
He had
watch
the
it.
he had
Oh,
the biggest
God.
response out of everyone. I don't think I've seen the whole music video.
Don't watch it. Don't even. No.
Yeah, it's a dude taking a stripper pole down a hell to
Well,
lap
I mean,
dance on Satan. But
I've
easy.
seen stills.
Yeah.
I just haven't seen the
Yeah.
video itself. And
Yeah,
now
but-
I just kind of want to know why Trez is like reacting this way.
Because I didn't want to watch it. When I watched it, I was forced to watch it.
Oh,
And a friend was like watching it at the same time. I was like, "What is that? What is that?" And he showed it to me. I was like, "Why? You showed this to me. Like why?" And it was too late for me. I was like, "Damn."
Have you ever seen things like lemonparty.org?
oh my God! Shut up! Oh my God! No. Oh, am I gonna scrub this from a podcast? I might have to scrub this from a podcast.
Maybe.
That's gonna bring back way
you
too
can
many
bleep
memories.
it out. I was gonna say
I'm not familiar with that one. I know what it is. The one I have watched, unfortunately, and I might have to cut this out because of these. BME Pan Olympics.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah,
you know. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you know.
Wait, what?
And if
Yeah.
good, no.
Okay, we'll
no.
just leave that for people who
Yeah.
Google.
No. Do not Google the thing.
Google Goatsy.
Oh my God. Well, see, that one's more in the meme sets. That one's more. Well, so is Lemon Party, I guess. All of them are. But Goatsy's like
most of them are.
Goatsy's
Yeah.
like the biggest meme, though.
It's like you're talking a different language right now. I don't even know.
Do not Google any of these stress words.
Don't,
Please.
don't Google it.
Please do not.
The reason why I asked was because I'm sure it was one of those instances where you're like, oh, it's a harmless name, and then suddenly you're like, oh, it's not.
Yeah, I think the first one I was exposed to was Meat Spin with on fucking people on Maple Story. People like mesos. You can get free mesos here. Click this link. It just takes you to Meat Spin. You're like, fuck.
You know what they're talking about?
No, not everything.
We will not-
I know what not to look for.
Exactly. Do not look for any
Just
of
not look
these.
for it.
Any of these.
It's kind of like
I might cut
this
this
is
for a
one of the
podcast.
more familiar ones, so I'll just put it out there. And if somebody doesn't know what it is, I'm like, wow, okay, Two Girls in a Cup.
Two Girls, One Cup. Yeah.
Yeah, almost everybody knows what that's about. Same vicinity of things.
Yes.
So
except worse. All of these are worse than that.
those are the ones we're referring to are definitely worse, a lot worse. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I if you're a sane person, please don't.
Please do not.
You will not benefit in your life having these. You're probably gonna have to find a therapist.
You're gonna have to cleanse your brain somehow because we can't.
I wish Manuel took my spot.
But yeah, I feel like this is my fault though, because like I did ask you like why that was your reaction,
But then I continue the conversation, so I'm just as much to blame.
and it's all good. I'm sure some people would love to hear that and be like, oh, you unlocked a hidden memory.
Yeah. Core trauma unlocked. I thought I locked this
cringy
away.
right now. Everyone's cringy right now who's listening.
And this is where the viewership, you watch like the viewership on
It
YouTube.
just dips.
Yeah.
But I was going back to something more cohesive and not
Well-
cringy. I wanted to get back to AI. So I'm one of the people who's pretty convinced that between 5 to 10 years from now, AI is pretty much going to replace everything. I mean, it's already kind of happening now as we speak. Like we're seeing like the whole waves of like artists trying now to compete against people who are creating AI work. And I'm sure everybody and their uncle has been looking at, Facebook where people are creating their own like AI images of themselves and, stroking themselves off to that.
Yeah. So,
And-
but what's your opinion on that versus like stealing the original artwork and using?
Well, I mean, I don't think they're actually stealing off original artwork. What I think that's happening is they're just causing artists to starve, because now people are like, why do I have to pay an artist when I could just have something an AI could replicate for me and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg?
They're like, the AI makes something close enough to where you don't really need the artist.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So like, I feel like that's the aspect where it's stealing from artists. The slippery slope that I'm more concerned about potentially is just the fact that it just steals your likeness. And with most of these apps, it's basically says that you indefinitely give rights to the
to use your
AI,
photos.
a platform to use your image for whatever necessities that it wants to, pull around and do these kind of things. And
I mean, if you're on social media, like nothing is. If something is free, it means they're making money off of you. So
right, 100%.
any social media on any of those pictures or stuff.
Regardless of whatever you're doing, if you exist on the internet, your likeness already exists in the ether.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you want to or not, and people are gonna toy and play around with it. But my issue with it more so, it just comes down to the fact that AI in general is basically disrupting almost all forms of jobs, because like now you're also getting AI lawyers, where you can get an AI to argue like ticket cases for you. You could get an AI to argue like all sorts of different legal cases, business, even divorce settlements.
Yeah, a lot of like companies will do like customer services, AI chat, stuff like that. So
Right.
And then some of it's getting so good where you don't actually know you're speaking to AI. I mean, obviously, like if it's a voice, it's a little easier to tell. But if it's like typing, like it's
Right.
really hard to tell.
So like now there's a whole bunch of people who are not going to have jobs because like, if for example, if you have like a bank app and you try to contact them, the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to put you with like the AI chat that's going to be like, how can I help you today? And then like, as you go like, contact me with an agent, it's going to consistently battle you to the point of going like,
Yeah.
first I need to know what you want to talk about. And then finally you'll get like somebody to talk to. But
Or it'll be like, I can help you with that if you're like
the new one, the new one I got sent today was Pay No Lawyer or something like that. Pay No Lawyer, where it drafts like law documents for you.
right. And I mean, that's insane. I mean, like there's also AIs, and this has been around for a while now, but like it drafts whole entire scripts for you too.
Yeah, the new Chat GPT tends to be like the best one for that. Like you tell it what you want it to be about, and it'll write you a script, or it'll write you like a report that's actually coherent.
Shit, I'm terrible at finishing scripts, so I might just put in my partial scripts, but I finish the shit for me.
Right. See, this is what I'm talking about. You're putting like a whole bunch of like script writers and writers out of work because like now, unfortunately,
Sorry, Manuel. Sorry, Tress.
AIs
Both
are
of y'all like writing, so both of y'all are out of the job. Sorry, boys.
AIs are getting so good at their job that, you're like, well, damn, I don't have to pay a writer as much, and I don't have to go through the hassle of like, going like, hey, this isn't exactly what I want. You could just take a AI script and like adjust it to however you want, and then like maybe feed it back again. I don't know how it works, but the fact that that's happening now, I'm pretty sure with the fact that it's happening to pictures, pretty soon you're going to find that in video format too, where like soon I'm sure you're going to be able to like plug in information and get like full on videos of things that you're looking for too.
So there's
a
already
little
really
bit
good
of that,
videos
yeah.
for that can do really good AI. They can do really good like rotoscoping,
Right.
Like with anything. So that combined with like the the Unreal stuff where you can change the backgrounds and anything, so you can literally take anybody out of anything, put them into anything else.
Oh no, 100%.
And I mean, even just face tracking itself, a lot of that AI, face replacement.
Right now, I'm wondering like how good they would be for proposals, because I was working on doing the proposal like between me and Tress, so I would just send it to
Oh,
him.
he wants to propose. So sweet.
So I would just send it
I
to him
propose
over
to you
like
too.
for making like try and get funds for like a feature that we were planning on making. But I was working on the proposal, and it took me like 2 weeks to like kind of refine it. Like I found the template, then I was kind of going through it and seeing what all I needed. Finally, I got it finished. I got it updated because a lot of the references for the old one were from like 2006 and later.
Jeez.
So I had to go and like put modern stuff on there. I like even quoted like stuff from Terrifier 2 on it, like updated like up to 2022. But it was still a lot of work. I still need to refine it a little bit more, but I've been working on that, on the proposal, and then hopefully like the plan is to like try and get the funds to like actually make the movie this year.
What kind of movie is it?
It's gonna be horror, so it's kind of more on the thriller side. But I was gonna try and do it in a way that kind of swaps genres.
Okay.
So it eases you in, being kind of like rom-com, and then goes into like the thriller.
Oh,
aspect,
also,
like, halfway there.
just on touching on that subject, I think it's called Dusk Until Dawn or something.
Dusk to Dawn?
Yeah.
Robert
Yeah,
Rodriguez?
Dusk
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
George has been talking about it, about the contrast from how it starts and how it's transitioned into a horror, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very drastic change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just watched that last night.
You finally watched
I
it?
finally watched it. Yeah, it was
Right.
it was so smooth. I like the character. I don't know the older brother's name, the character itself,
I forget
himself.
the brothers' names in the movie, but
but his acting was superb. I mean, from start to all the way to the end. Tarantino
it was George Clooney,
was Yeah, it was George Clooney.
and then Tarantino's the other brother.
Tarantino's older brother. I think if they had like an actual, the Joker, right? I don't know who plays the Joker in
The new one?
Batman. No, the Batman Begins.
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger. I think if they had somebody play that brother the way Heath Ledger played the Joker, I think it would have sold the brother completely. Because the brother in that movie is kind of off.
You're
a
like
little bit.
Tarantino's acting's not that
It's
great.
Tarantino, you
off?
suck. No, I'm kidding.
Nah, he's good, but I don't know. It was just kind of off. But
I'm getting the signal from Manuel that we have to like start wrapping up.
I think the batteries might be dying, but also I have to be up at 4 a.m. Well, 4:30. So
Jesus Christ.
I worked a fucking 6 a.m. shift.
But he
TV,
wanted
bro.
to stay for you. He's like, I'll
Yeah,
stay
I appreciate
for
that. I love you.
Aw, send right back at you, homie.
But I wanted to get one last thing out. Shoot me the script. I want to look over it, and actually, not even shoot me the script. Just shoot me the proposal. I'll look it over it, and I can talk to money people.
All right, I'll send you the proposal.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it needs like maybe another rewrite.
Okay,
to actually
that's fine.
But I'll send it to you as it is, so you could like actually judge it. Because I was like,
Tell them the shit. It's fine.
I've told people, writers, that their writing's not any good, and it's probably not going to sell. I don't shy away. I straight up tell them I don't think this has potential. And,
100%, man. Honesty is like always important.
right, because like if we go halfway and it's like, oh, we already spent $250,000. I don't know what we could do with this thing. I'm not gonna lie. But if it's like something where I know we could get it out and at least it live its life cycle somehow, I'm all in.
All right.
And I'll find a way to make it happen.
Well,
is there anything else you want to plug before we go?
No, should I?
I don't know. You got
if
any
you
recent
want to.
projects or anything you want to plug?
IG.
Well, I mean, I have the Night of the Shadow Man happening, but that's something that is gonna happen eventually. I recently directed one of my things not too long ago. It's called Where's My Gold? It's a little dumb horror comedy. Stylistically, it doesn't look that awesome because we had to shoot, edit, and turn it in 4 days. And we literally casted it the night before. So I was like,
So it's like a 48-hour thing times 2. Yeah.
yeah, essentially. I mean, it was what's the math on that? 88 hours.
Something
Yeah.
like that. I don't know.
Um,
So 90, 96. But yeah.
no, you're right. Yeah, 96. I messed up. I was
no,
like
you're cool.
4-4.
You're cool. No
Yeah,
problem.
96 hours. So 96 hours, we got that thing made, and maybe you can't tell. I don't know. Maybe you can. But in any case, that's the start again of me directing again. I think after 4 years, 3 years of not
Did that
directing.
project really scar you that badly, the old one? God.
No. I still direct. The last thing I directed before Where's My Gold was this thing called There He Is Now, which was the last horror movie I directed. But I just felt like I was not progressing as a filmmaker so much. So I was just like, screw it.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in and become a cinematographer and a Steadicam operator. And ever since then, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. So can anybody? Is there a place where we can watch that movie, or is it like?
Yeah, it's on YouTube, and I'm sure you can check it out on my Instagram here very soon too. And my Instagram, Sam Haines Studios, and
Also, there's a
check out all my
website.
stuff there.
There's a website as well.
Yes.
Sam Haines Studios. Yeah.
Sam Haines Studios.
If you want to hire this dude for whatever you need, he will shoot anything. I don't know. Do you shoot porn, or is that still no go for you still?
If the money is there, I'll do it. I don't care. I've had to do some questionable stuff before here, and I'm not gonna put it out there in case they're gonna be like, "Damn, he's talking about my projects."
He's gonna be the very first, the very first Steadicam operator. It's gonna be like the smoothest porn shots you've ever seen in your life.
It can be. It could be stylistically beautiful, and you're like, "Holy shit!"
It's gonna be beautiful on multiple levels.
This is porno. Looks like Lord of the Rings. I'm kidding.
No, go to Sweden. They do art grants for that shit.
They do.
Yeah.
You're joking, right?
I'm
No,
not.
joking.
There was a woman. I remember a long time ago. I think we learned about this in film school actually, which is super funny. Like who got paid by the government to make lesbian porn. No fucking shit.
I feel like towards the end of the podcast we hit on Milosh's expertise. He's like, I can tell you the whole history right now.
Oh, exactly. No kidding.
He's like,
Yeah.
we're already 2 hours over.
On that terrible note, I'm sleep deprived. I need to go to bed. I need to be awake in the morning. I think I'm probably gonna end up working from home. Maybe sleeping an hour. Fuck it. Who cares? Save me some gas as well for driving to fucking South Lake. Anyways, thank you so much, Jorg, for being on the podcast. It's always a fucking pleasure talking to you, man. Every time you're on, it's an absolute fucking blast.
I appreciate that.
You channel a little bit of your new manual, but that's fine.
Oh, thank you. No, because I didn't think my mic was working, so I was like,
Yeah, I was like, why the fuck is he quiet? He's usually pretty fucking talkative.
I don't know. I was like,
Yeah. Also, one thing I just meant to ask real quick. Speaking of all this AI art and stuff like that, do you feel like you wasted your time making your Hydra duck when you could have just?
Shut up, man.
Your Hydra what?
I made a Hydra
It's
duck.
a duck with a bunch of heads. A Hydra duck.
I want to see it. Want to see it?
All right, we need to wrap
Afterwards.
up. We'll see it. All right, thank you, everyone.
George, thank
Catch
you.
you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Manual, thanks for being on camera. See y'all. Bye. Peace out.